Hello, my name is Shaylyn Jones, and I'm going to be presenting on the topic of co-housing models between older adults and students. I'm going to start with talking about co-housing models in general and why are they needed, then move on to co-housing models between older adults and students, followed by projects that are going on in Ontario right now, watching a short video, and then talking about the benefits and challenges to these co-housing models, and then what can be done in the future. So what are co-housing models? So co-housing is defined as a form of community living that contains a mix of private and communal spaces. So it is sharing your house with others. Why are they needed? Well, Ontario stats from 2016 shows that seniors 65 and up exceed that of children under 15, with this population expected to grow, and by 2041 it is projected that 25% of Ontario's population will be 65 years or older, which is around 4.6 million seniors in Ontario. Right now in Ontario, 93% of them are living in private households and 23.5% are living alone in these. With that being said, many of them have extra space in their house and not enough support. With the prices rising in urban places, it makes them harder for them to age in place and forcing them to look into traditional retirement, residence, or long-term care earlier than needed that often reduce their independence. The idea of co-housing models is that they could support older adults to age in place, which is becoming more of a critical need, as well it would help reduce healthcare costs and make housing affordable. In Ontario, more than half of the residents and 3/4 of those over the age of 65 live in houses that are bigger than they need, leaving 5 million spare bedrooms across the province, according to a 2017 report by the Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis. So by this it means that many seniors have more space than they can afford, while, as we know, students struggle to pay rent for their cramped living quarters. So the idea is that older adults who have an extra room open up their house to students for a reduced rate in exchange for help with basic household tasks and companionship. So often this is around 5 to 7 hours a week. As well, it also involves providing friendship to the older adult. So these programs started in the US in 1972 and then spread worldwide. However, they've been increasingly well known in the past few years, in part due to social media and projects done by university facilities. So these home share programs can play an important role in combating ageism and supporting the aging in place. This creates reciprocal friendships between the older adult and the student and set up a framework to be followed between generations. The Toronto Home Share Program was started by researcher Masra, and it was started as a pilot project with a group of researchers, social workers, and government officials with the idea of finding a new way for seniors to be able to stay in their homes longer while helping the students. So on September 1st, 2018, the 4-month pilot project was started, and it matched 20 roommate pairs of older adults and students. They first underwent a vulnerable sector check and then were matched due to personality, what the older adult needed in assistance, and what the student was capable of providing. In the program, the student received reduced rent, around $400 to $600, in exchange for around 5 to 7 hours of household assistance throughout the week. The project has students from York, Ryerson, and U of T. Today, the Toronto Home Share is run by the National Initiative for the Care of Elderly, and it continues to match older adults who would benefit from receiving this additional income and help around the house with students who may need the affordable housing option. So it is actually pretty easy to sign up for. You can go to their website and fill out a few forms and start the matching process. Please follow the link and watch the first 2 minutes of the video. It highlights an older adult and student pair and how they live together and the benefits that it had to both of them. Please take a second to read some of the quotes from the Toronto Home Share program. These quotes highlight that the relationship that is developed is much more than reduced rent and help around the house, that it is much more meaningful and deeper. So to talk about other programs in Ontario, first I'd like to talk about the Symbolics project at McMaster's University. So this project started in a similar way to the Toronto Pilot project in 2017. It has had similar successes and challenges as the Toronto project and is now working through both McMaster and Hamilton Aging in the Community to pair more and more students and older adults together each year, and they are currently looking for students interested in the program for the following year. Next is the Queen's Pilot Project. So while they have not actually implemented the program at Queen's yet, they have had extensive research done by master's student C. Farling in 2019 to find out what is needed to implement the program in Kingston area and if Queen's students would be interested in partaking. The results showed that both the community and the students would be interested in this program, and they hope to start a similar project up soon. Next is St. Catharines area. So St. Catharines area has about 300 older adult residents who are on waiting lists looking for places to live and affordable housing. So in January 2020, they had their first meeting about starting these similar projects that other schools have done of the home sharing between students and older adults. So hopefully we see a program starting up there soon as well. And then lastly, there's Home Share Canada, which is a website which provides all the information on these different programs and how to become a part of these. And also it has programs that match older adults with students to live with, but also older adults with middle-aged adults and people of their own age to create a roommate system and affordable housing for all. Benefits to the older adult. It helps to reduce social isolation, empower those to age in place while reducing premature institutionalization. So it allows them to stay in the house longer with the assisted care and the additional income. It fosters relationships between generations, which can help reduce ageism. It allows housing to be more affordable for seniors because they are able to live in the same space while getting additional income from the rent. It allows them help with household tasks, so things they may not be able to do, such as shovel snow or vacuum, they are able to have done for free. As well, it allows them to learn from one another. So often, the student can bring in different perspectives to the older adult, or they can help with things such as technology and staying in contact with their family members. And lastly, it can create a feeling of safe and security in the home. So as we saw in the video, the older adult said that she felt more comfortable going to sleep at night knowing that there was someone else in the house. So there are also many benefits to the student. So of course it increases access to affordable housing. They have an option for reduced rent, but it also increases their living space. So often students are living in crammed areas that may not be productive to them. So this allows them to have a lot of space, which leads to higher productivity rates and higher levels of happiness. It helps to reduce ageism because they're connecting relationships with older adults. They're reducing feelings of isolation in a new or unfamiliar city. It provides comfort to their parents by knowing their child's in a stable home. So maybe having a mother or father figure around is a comforting feeling so their parents aren't worrying about them at home. As well, they are able to gain relevant experience and help with their careers and their studies. So they try to match people in their personality. So maybe the older adult was in a career that the student is looking to go into. So there are some challenges to co-hosting between older adults and students. So the first one that is found is resistant by some seniors to the idea of co-hosting. So this could be difficultly engaging seniors who may view the program as long-term commitment when it is not. The fear of risk involved in taking a stranger into their house and the fear that it's invading their personal privacy. There's the fear of the arrangement may not work and the difficulty of actually making the decision to allow someone into their home. It is also found that inflexibility on part of some of the seniors. So it's allowing the student to come into their house and break and use all the different facilities that used to be just theirs. There's difference in communication or daily schedules. So sometimes the student and the older adult are on such different schedules they don't actually see each other that often. And then there's also responsibilities of the student may exceed expectations. So the students thought they would be doing easier household tasks than what was actually expected of them. And another big problem is the lack of public awareness or knowledge about home share programs, because we need to bring more awareness to these so that they can become more popular and increasingly happening in areas. As well, there are some technical challenges, such as it can be a long matching process, not having the right personalities matched together, the idea of how the insurance is going to work, and as well as the tenant-landlord situation, because you are then, as a student, being a tenant while living with your landlord, the older adult. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the future directions at Trent. So as we have seen, many other universities are starting to follow suit with the Toronto and McMaster programs. So I thought it'd be interesting to look in to see if Trent is doing any of this. So as I found, Trent Psychology Department and Trent Center for Aging and Society are pairing up with the community partners and students to try and bring home sharing to Peterborough. So far, we have talked with the researcher Mazda, who started the Toronto Home Share program, and brought all these different people into a room to listen to the ideas and see what their thoughts and actions are on this program. So I found a really interesting video from Global News that actually is an interview with our professor on what Trent has started to do for this home share project. So if you have time, maybe take a second and listen to some of the research our prof is doing. To end, I would like to ask, would you consider becoming roommates with an older adult? Please write about this answer in your reflection, and thank you for listening to my presentation.